nervous about it. So
Yeah.
I asked Niels if he wanted to be on the show, and he said sure. Niels HOF would be happy to join you on your podcast. Did I mention I'm HOF? Do you know what HOF is? I'm Hall of Fame. I'm just kidding, Niels. How's it going?
Nice opening line, Night.
Niels is Well, tell us how does it feel?
It feels nice, man. I've had almost a week now to let it sink in, and I said this at the other interview with Mike. For me, I'm not all about the pats on the back and all that stuff. It just doesn't interest me that much. But I heard the count afterwards that there was only, out of 80 people in the Hall of Fame, there's only about 55 players in it. And if you think about that over the last, 120, 150 years, to be in that group, that for me is really cool, and for me, it's more about being in that group with my heroes like Efren, Boosty, Earl, Archer, Ortman, them from when I grew up, when I was watching those guys. Now I'm in the same group. I wouldn't say elite club, blah blah blah. It's more that group. That's really cool, I think, for me. Does that answer the question?
Yeah. I mean, it's definitely an honor. I mean, you look at the people at, obviously, we talked about this a little bit a couple of days ago. We did a show on who we voted for and why. Melina, Mike Pinoza, and I were all three voters for the Hall of Fame. For full disclosure, you got my vote. If you listen to that podcast, you were actually the only person that I voted for on the ballot this year. And I gave my reasons for it there. So if you're interested in why I voted for Niels and only Niels, you could head over there and you could, listen to why. But it is, I mean, at most, you're basically going to have one person in per year. There was 1 year where Johnny Archer and Allison Fisher were both inducted into the Hall of Fame. But other than that, it's been one every single year. It's brutal to get into this.
I was there for Rodney and Belinda 1 year. And
I thought there was
Barry Hearn.
Yeah, okay.
But you're talking about meritorious service. So those are meritorious service. So only one player can be inducted at any year unless they both get over 75%. So every other year, they'll have a player up for the meritorious service. And then the year that they don't have the meritorious service, they will have a legends category, which is some player who got overlooked while they were on the ballot, never got in, and now they're being looked back on 20 years later and saying, all right, well, this person didn't get in, but they're deserving. Let's get them in now.
Okay.
So every year they have one player as the greatest player category. That I mean, you could get in multiple, but it's got to be over 75% of the voting. Next year might be a potential year for that. Obviously, we all know Shane has turned 40 this year. It's possible because you got Carlo Beato, Guy Young Kim, and Shane Van Boning that are all eligible next year. We've talked about that at length too, as to whether or not multiple are going to get in, or whether or not you're going to give Shane, his solo year. But then the following year, you might get Carlo Beato and Guy Young Kim, right? So we'll see. But I guess back to where we were at. It's really hard to get into this Hall of Fame. It's really, really, really difficult. It's, looking back over your career, you've been playing this game your entire life, right? Has it really totally sunk in yet, the players that you are a part of now?
Yeah, I mean, I've been on the pro scene. Let me think. I got really into it since I was 20. Then I did a bunch of tours in the US, road trips, and then came back. We were very fortunate with the Dutch group that the Olympic Committee gave their stamp on the billiard sport, right? It was eligible to be in the Olympics, and that meant that the Dutch Olympic Committee gave a bonus to the players when they got a medal at the Europeans. So I came back from 3 years touring in the US, 6 months on, 6 months off, and we got a medal with the Dutch team right away. So that meant we got financial support, so I could continue my pro situation right out of the gate, coming from the US. And then in 2001, so this is in what is this, 99, 2000. And then 2001, I had my breakthrough year with that Tokyo thing. That was a big check. So I had financial freedom very quick. So I could continue my dream. And that's been going on for, 30, no, is it 20, 25 years on the 22 years as a pro, I would say. 22, 23 years. Yeah, so to be, like I said, to be part of my heroes in that club, that's the cool part for me. And all the rest is a nice big show, but to get the votes from your peers, to be, I think that night will be cool. I'm curious how many of the Green Jackets will be there, the former Hall of Famers or the current Hall of Famers, and how many of the old guys and the current pros. You know,
I think normally they're quite good. I think normally they do like to turn up for these things. I think the majority of them will be there if they are able to be there. And with it being at the International Open as well, it's one of the favourite events for them to come. You see a lot of the times on the Accustat live stream. You see they get the VIP area for the Hall of Famers, and you see there's quite a lot of them there all the time. So it's I think it'll be a good night. I think you'll have plenty of those guys to shake your hand, and you will get the pats on the back and welcome to the club. It could be quite an emotional evening, I think.
It'd be a big build-up. I think now it's like, wow, nice, but then you're gonna prepare, and I'm really gonna push hard to get the girls there. That'd be a really nice moment, and of course it's gonna get built up like the Moscone, always before it's gonna build and build. And then I think when I'm gonna jump on stage and your whole body's gonna be alive for sure. Yeah.
And you've still got a tournament to try and snap off at the same time. So.
Yeah, I figured out it's on the Friday night. It ends on the Saturday. I have no clue how Pat's running the event now. I think it's now single elimination. I think that's a big bummer in my humble opinion, because I've always thought the power of that event was the double elimination till the finals, right? So even if you had a bad session on Friday and you're jumping into the losers bracket, you could still come all the way back. And now it's single elimination, last 32 also. So anyway, it's probably that Saturday will be semifinals, finals. So the Friday night, if you're not still in, you can have a couple of wines more. But if you're still playing, you're in the final four, so you still got. You gotta get ready.
Well, you said 2001. Let me just go through. There's probably some missing from here because I can't believe this is the only list, or this is all that's on the list. But I guess these are the major ones. So, European champion straight pool, just a couple of times. 2002, 2003, 2004, 2007, 2014, 2017, 2018. Nice of you to let somebody else win one now and again. European champion 8-ball 2015, the 9-ball 2013 and 14. You got third place at the World Championship 10-ball in 2008. World champion straight pool in 2008. You got to the final 2 years in a row in the 8-ball, 2010, 2011. Winner of your first pool masters, 2013. 9-ball world champion, the big one, 2014. And then another World Pool Masters in 2018. And then probably about another 100 events in between. I'd like to just go back to 2018, probably 2017 into 2018. Tough year.
You made me think that you're never playing pool again.
This is going to be my question. I mean, how close was it, and how close did you feel it might be to that elbow injury being the end of your career?
I didn't think it was going to end my career, but the toughest part of that period was that no doctor or in Europe we call it a house doctor, right? That's your local doctor, or nobody was giving me a number. Like you're out for 6 months. You got a tennis elbow. It was like, no, it'll be 2 weeks more. It'll be another week, another 2 weeks. So I was doing everything I could to try and get like back on track ASAP, because after that summer there was a whole list of tournaments for the Moscone ranking. We had tournaments in Germany and then whatever. It was back to back to back, and I had to start canceling events. So this was the start of it, right? That was in August, because I came back from a vacation. I drove back from Italy in 2 days. And that summer I already had some problems left and right. I was swinging Cena on the swing. I could feel like, what's going on here? And then it would go away, and then it would come back, and then it stuck for a while. I played the Euro Tour in Holland, and I couldn't shake somebody's hand. It was like, oh man, and I couldn't break the balls really good. It was really hurting. And then I said, you know what? I'm going to go to the physio. So I went to the physio here in my town. This guy tested me. He says, yeah, you got some problems with your elbow. You got to start lifting this weight, right? Do 3 kilos. Do it every day. It was way too much. And after 3 days, my arm, it just blew up. I went to the pool room here. I lifted my cue. I had to drop the cue literally out of my hand. I was like, what the hell? So the inflammation got so intense. That's when I had to start taking a break. So that carried on and on. I got really anxious. I was like, what is, and nobody said it was a tennis elbow. So I'm doing everything I can, blah, blah, blah. To make a long story short, I flew into Holland, had an appointment with a sports doctor from the Olympic Committee. He tested me. He says, boom, you got a tennis elbow. And I said, what? A tennis elbow. You're out. You're out. This could be 6 to 9 months. I said, man. And he said, you got US Open coming up and you still have a chance for the Moscone. He said, we could give you a cortisol injection, right? That's what they sometimes do. And I was anxious about that. He said, listen, it's not gonna hurt, blah, blah, blah. It's not gonna hurt. In the end, we did it. I played the US Open. I played the World Championships with heavy painkillers because it started coming back. That's what happens. And then after the Worlds in December, I had to take the full break. So now we're carrying over winter 17 to 18. And that's when I had to go into full rehab for 10 weeks. I couldn't play, winter, dark here in Scandinavia. And it was really depressing. I couldn't do any sports, couldn't swim, couldn't bike. Then finally I could start running. And then I had to really build myself up and just build new muscle. I had to build new muscle tissue here around the spot where everything comes together. So I was pretty depressed. I didn't think it was going to end my career, but I had doubts about just what was going on. Could I get the same power back? Could I have the same drive back? What would happen if I couldn't continue? You know, you're thinking a lot. If you have a big injury, anybody that has a big injury or had a big injury, you're thinking about it. You're thinking about it all the time. Wait,
It's especially if you've got nothing else to take your mind off it. If you're not allowed to do any other sport, you can't take your mind off it.
I didn't have anything to do. I couldn't work on like the course or YouTube channel. I couldn't be productive at all. So I went crazy. If I can't be productive, that's just my personality. I get really irritated. I got to do something every day that's productive, either work out or something that makes me feel good. And so that was a really hard period. But then finally, step by step, you know, I did all the work. And finally, I got the green light from the physio here. We made the movie about it with Kamui, the great little 3-minute movie. And then, I mean, I remember I was allowed to break the balls for the first time. And it still hurt. And I was like, oh, my God, man, I got to go to this tournament in 3 days. How am I going to do this? I was allowed to play 10 minutes, then 20 minutes, 30 minutes. And I just went there, and I just was just glad to be there. And then I beat Raj, you know, scrappy. Then I got through Dennis. I ran 3 and out, but I wasn't really playing that good. But then I got pain-free in the semifinals against Carl. And that's when all the brakes just flew off, right? I had pain for 10 weeks. And when I got pain-free, it was like I just shifted gears, like from 2nd gear to 10th gear. I just wanted to play. I didn't care about anything. I was just a little kid in the ballpark, and I just wanted to play. That's what you see in the video. So if you see those matches, I'm just freewheeling. I'm just running out from area, kicking balls in, just running out, man. That was the most fun I had at the Masters ever. I think those 2 matches for sure. Yeah, long story, but
No, so it's never really been talked about. We've never really heard the full. We all know what happened, but so I mean, you start off your career in 2001, or you decide that this is what I want to do. I want to be professional. Then you're very much. We hear it in the talks that you give about goal setting and setting yourself goals and realistic goals. And how do your goals change throughout your career? When did you start thinking, now I think I can become a world champion, or now I want to be a world champion? And was there a point where you thought, hold on a minute, if I look at this list, I might make Hall of Fame someday, kind of thing? Was there a moment in your career where you thought about this day happening, where you thought this is a possibility?
Yeah, I think when you start racking up some big results, especially the world title in 2014, then you start thinking like, I might have a chance for this. But it wasn't on my list, or I wasn't working towards it. Let's put it that way. I was just trying to win tournaments and just play better and better and better. Excuse me. And I think the goal setting when you're a youngster in your early 20s, I mean, these guys now are 15, 16. I was like 22, 23. I've been on the road, worked really hard on my game. I came back to Europe. My goal was just demolish everybody. I just wanted to win every freaking tournament, The cool thing, I didn't think like, okay, I'm going to go on the Euro Tour scene now and I'm going to try and reach the final 16. I said, I want to jump straight and win a Euro Tour, right? So I got to the finals. Then a year later, second Euro Tour, I got to the finals, same Euro Tour. And then the year after, again in Finland, I won my first Euro Tour. And it was I felt like if you stayed in Europe, when I was early 20s, it went too slow. That's why I went to the US. And in the US, I got so inspired, man. I'm around these champions all the time. I'm on the road. So I came back to Europe. And at that time, I just didn't fear anybody. I was like, dude, I've been through all of this. That was my mindset. Do you think I fear any of this coming back? You know what I mean? So I just wanted to jump in fresh. And then, of course, when you turn pro, you're going to play more events and you start figuring out that other guys can also play really good tournament pool. And then it gets a little harder, and then it's one thing to win a Euro Tour, but it's a whole other animal to win a world title. That's pro pool at the highest level is more about pressure management and momentum, carrying that confidence momentum over and capitalizing on that. Like look at Sanchez. It's like that streak. You've seen that with Mika and Darren and myself and Sanchez, Ralph. It's usually that streak. When you get confident, really confident, you can carry it on for a while. So yeah, just gradually setting higher targets, and then eventually you see a whole list of nice things, and you think this might work for the Hall of Fame. Why not?
Yeah. Okay, so you've set all these targets and you've met them all. I mean, there's nothing that you haven't achieved.
US Open and
US Open. Okay, so I was going to say,
yeah.
What is now your target? I mean, you're now 46 years old.
Yeah.
Hall of Fame or world champion. Okay, you could name the US Open as being a target because you don't have one of them. But how do you keep setting yourself targets when you've achieved almost everything?
Well, I'm not delusional. My life right now doesn't look like my life in my 20s and 30s without kids, without other responsibilities, commitments. I have to really work harder to get in stroke, stay in stroke. When you don't have all those commitments, so that's all you do. You're playing pool, you're always in stroke. And that's the thing I struggle with the most nowadays is, if I would want to peak more, I would have to play more events, but I don't want to do that because I also want to see my girls. So sometimes you think it takes me longer at events sometimes to get in gear, like mentally tough, getting adjusted. That takes a little longer, and that's sometimes frustrating because you think like, man, if I would have only played these two events before, I would have had you know what I mean? But that's a trap you have to stay away from. So the goal for me is still to win a major. I think personally in my heart that I play better now. I'm more complete than when I won the world title. I think I'm more fit than in my 20s and 30s. So energy-wise, fundamentally wise, like my lifestyle and stuff as a pro, and game wise, I think I still can do it. I got to the quarters at the Worlds. I had Mario 9-6, and he ran the set out from 9-8. Otherwise, I'm in the semis, perhaps against Sanchez. You know, I'm at least third then. So then I got third at the Masters. Lost Hill to Kachi. That was a nice one. So it's still there. It's just it's a little harder with, you know, playing. There's so many events. I got to just pick them. I can't play everything. You know, that would not be my life wish at the moment. So that's sometimes internally a struggle, but also I can let go of that pretty quick because I'm rich on the home front, so to speak. I have nice girls that sometimes drive me absolutely crazy, but I'm there.
Tell me about it.
I'm there, you know. I'm in the arena with that also.
So you talked a little bit about the mental side. Now I do want to get to that in a second, but I want to touch first off about you said you wish you would play more events, but you know, all things considered, how do you actually pick your schedule? Do you just look at the matchroom schedule and say, all right, this is mine? Do you look at the Predator schedule? I mean, how are you actually looking through everything that's available and saying these are the ones I want to throw my hat in the ring on?
Yeah, good question. I mean, well, if you look now, it's kind of summertime. So I said, okay, I'm taking 3 weeks off. Even if there's a Euro Tour next week, I say, okay, 3 weeks off. We're going on a little trip here on Saturday a week. And then once I'm back, you look at the calendar and then you see, okay, there's a tournament in Sarajevo connected to the European Open. So I could say, okay, I'm going straight to the European Open, but then I have that problem again. I don't really have that competitive groove. So I'd say, okay, I'm going to Sarajevo and straight after to Fulda. So I hope to get like at least 5 to 10 matches in Sarajevo to get me a little sharper. Then there's a little break again. But September is going to be busy with, I'm going to, again, Balkan Tour, straight to Jason's tournament, Connecticut, and then on to the US Open. So that's a nice little block. And then is that September? Yeah, and I'm doing the Pro Star.
Yeah, that's end of September.
Yeah, I'm doing the Pro Star before that. So there was a problem there because China Open came up now. China Open. I got the invite, but that's again, I have to choose. If I would do that also, it would be a week. It'd be too much. So my heart would say, yeah, China Open, nice. But no. I'm doing Pro Star Cup with my whole family. We're going to the camping there, staying for a week. So it's practice, tournament, little vacation all together, quality time, and a tournament. So I try to do these mini blocks throughout the calendar. And you know, if you're now a youngster, a touring pro, you would just go left and right. You know what I mean? You would go from China to there, to the European Open, to the US, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, go to the Philippines. What's up, Asian Open? You know what I mean? But
I guess in a way, because there are so many tournaments now to pick from, you can make your schedule based on what you want to do rather than being free in between the tournaments, the only tournaments that you have to play. You know, if there's only one tournament every month, then your free time is decided by when the tournaments are. Whereas now there's so many tournaments that you can turn around and say, I'm taking this 3 weeks off because it's the school holidays. I'm going to go to some with the family. And you know, there's a tournament before you stop and there's a tournament when you come back, because even there's just a tournament every week now, potentially that you could go and play, you know?
True.
So you're never going to go dry. I think anyone, if you want to be one of those young kids who just plays absolutely everything, then, you know, you're living out of a suitcase for 365 days of the year and you're only traveling, or you can just choose to choose the ones that you want. And I think most people, Nate asked, you know, how do you pick your tournaments? I think the majority of people, their priority at the moment goes towards the 9-ball ranking kind of thing. That seems to be the way the most are doing it if they have to pick and choose. But I like the way that you always go to you always go to like the Pro Star and the Longoni tournaments. You've got a very tight bond with Longoni. I mean, I can't believe that in all the time that that no other cue manufacturers have been trying to headhunt you and get you to move, but you've always stayed loyal to Longoni kind of thing. You're like a sponsor's dream. You don't go chasing You see players are switching queues every couple of years if they get offered a better contract. You're always very loyal at your sponsors. Is that something you're how to say that? So is that something that you're very deliberate in, making sure that if somebody is going to support you, that you do the best that you possibly can for them and support their events and all that kind of stuff?
I think it's a really good relationship with Pierluigi. You know, I've been with him since I think it's 2003 or 4, and they're just really good people. So, you know, every time we see him, we go out for dinner and we catch up about the scene and about new possibilities with products and new developments. And he's just a really, really good guy. And of course, we have to talk financial stuff also, but that's never been an issue or a debate or anything. It's just a really nice family feeling. And also you can say, okay, I'm going to go to this Q brand for 3 years, and then who knows, they might drop you, and what do you have then? You know what I mean? I've been with Longoni for 20 years, and we've never had any issues whatsoever. If there was anything that came up, it was boom, pick up the phone, and 15 minutes later we spoke things out, which there was hardly ever anything anyway. So, you know, even if I get 33rd at a tournament, doesn't even matter. You know, or if I win, it's great, but it's more the longevity of it and the branding. They believe more in the branding in the long term. So they always have my back, and that's a really cool thing. That's nice. You don't have to worry about, I have to get to the finals in this tournament, or I might lose my Q sponsor or anything. It's never been an issue. And I think he's always valued my ethics as a pro, connected to his brand. So that's a win-win.
Seems very difficult not to.
You're like a sponsor. You're like a sponsor's dream. I mean, even for the podcast, you've obviously gone and put your sponsorship shirt on for the podcast. I'm pretty sure you didn't go out for dinner wearing that. So you'd even go back and got changed to make sure you but not everybody. You can laugh, but not everybody does that. You know,
I didn't need to.
Always very professional, you know.
Put it that way. Yeah, true.
I mean, it's one of the things we talked about when we talked about how do you rate somebody for being in the Hall of Fame? You know, do you do it just based on results? But it's a full package, you know. And we talked a little bit about the youth coming through before we came on air and stuff like that. And what the youth really need is they need ambassadors of the sport. They need people to look up to. They need people that they say, I want to be like that person. You know, that's why I like you as a pick for Hall of Fame on a personal basis anyway, because we're friends, but also I think it's just a great pick because of the full package. You kind of tick all the boxes, in my opinion. And when kids are coming through, they need to be able to see role models and say, this is who I like to be like. But in order for that to happen, we have to reward the people who are of that status and are the role models, so that the youth see these people. This guy is getting rewarded for everything he's done in the game, and he's doing this. He keeps himself fit. He's always well dressed. He looks after his sponsors, and his sponsors look after him. He's always very professional. He's respectful. Everybody has respect for him. These are the kind of guys that are role models, but you have to push them forward and say, we're rewarding somebody for being like that, and not just ignoring somebody when they're like that. You know what I mean? And I think it's no, I'm delighted on this one, because we all know that if you hadn't got in this year, you would have had to wait another year anyway, because next year is already decided. So I'm delighted that it happened this year. And I think it's for all you kids out there that are looking, if you're looking for somebody to model your game on or your behavior on.
Well, back way early on in the podcast, when I first started doing this, I used to bring on one player every week. Back when I actually, I guess, had more time to do this, but I'd bring on one player every single week, and we would do player profiles on them. And we would ask basically the same questions over and over and over again, so that we got a little bit better idea on the players. And one of the questions that I asked was, who is your role model in pool? You know, for all the players over, let's say 40 that I brought on at the time, it was Buddy Hall, it was Mike Siegel, it was those types of players. I'm not kidding you. Every single player under the age of 25 your name came out of their mouth, whether you were or whether you were amongst 2 or 3.
Wow.
Every single player I probably did. I mean, they're still out there. I probably did maybe 10 to 15 interviews of players under the age of 25, and every single one of them mentioned your name.
Wow.
You and Ralph were you were the number 1. Ralph was number 2 as far as who they respected the most growing up playing. So
yeah, I'm a little fitter than Ralph. No, just kidding.
You're a little younger as well.
That's crazy. That's crazy. I never.
But it's true. I mean, even when you talk to the current pros and you get in the conversations of the most professional, the hardest working, the best attitude. Niels' name, I'll say it again, if your name's in the discussion, you're doing something right. And Niels' name is always in there. Even with the top guys, when I speak to Darren, to Jason, they all come out with the same names, and Niels is always one of them. And I think the Hall of Fame is just like putting the cherry on the top, and it's a legacy. You're now eternal. Your name will always be there now. And deserve it.
HOF.
You get the green jacket.
Yeah, that'd be fun. I did the measurements yesterday because I heard a story, or was it yesterday? Ralph supposedly did the measurements, and let's say he's a 48 or a 50, but it's totally different in the US. So it's like -10, something like that. So it should have been a 38 for him in the US. So he gets his jacket, and it's a US 48. Which is like that long, right? So they said, like, make sure you get the US size. So I'm a 52. I put straight into the conversion, and it was like a 42. So I sent it over to Shane.
I'm just imagining Ralph up there just going like this with his arms. And
Yeah.
flaps.
yeah, he wouldn't like that.
The little flaps are just going all over the place.
Roll up.
Yeah.
Brilliant. So you've got to come up with a speech now. And
yeah.
Not to go too deep into it, but it must already be in your head. Is there any names that come to mind straight away that have had a big influence in your career?
Oh man, there's a whole list, but
top 3.
No, I think top 5. I mean, you have Johan, you have Steven Verharen from Hague 5. He used to drive me to all these tournaments in Holland when I was 17, 18. We always go together from Hague 5. Then you have Alex Grunewald from Hague 5, who got me in contact with Joe Kerr when I was 20. That was my first contact in the US. So then Johan. Also spoke with my parents when I was 17. Tried to convince them more to push me to keep playing. Then he was out of it for a long time, Johan. He wasn't involved with pool, and then he came back. He was, of course, the Dutch coach, Mosconi coach. So I worked with Johan for many years. And then Aaron Zetley, Corey Dool stake horse. He staked me when I was 21, 22. Friend of mine. He let me always play better players. He always put me in the box against better players, stake me, because that's how he believed I would get better. And then I'm probably forgetting. I got to make a list, like top 5. That Johan. There's so many guys, man. It's unreal. But my wife is. Top of the list probably my wife. Because also if you get the jet lags, it's not easy to be with a pool player, and it's. She is a pool player. She used to be a pool player. I'm trying to get her back on track. It's not going to happen. But Kat got a silver medal herself at the Europeans and a bronze medal years ago. So that's how we met at the Europeans in 2004. So she knows the game in and out, and we traveled together. But when a pool player is jet lagged and he comes home from a trip and mentally destroyed, it's not always happy days. You can have a little your squibbles and your this and that, but at the end of the day, she's the foundation for everything in this house. I can thank 20 guys, but she's always there when I'm down or stuff. So yeah.
It does take a special kind of lady to be in a relationship with a pool player at any level. I mean, even at
Even
my
the good
level,
ones.
even at my level, I mean,
Think about it, Jim. Think about the pool. I mean, we don't make millions, right? So it's there's a lot of pressure on pool players, right? You got to go out and you got to keep going out and try to make a living. And there's been many divorces in the pool world. There's not a whole lot of guys that are on tour with 2 kids and that have a marriage. I mean, it's
very few success stories.
It's hard. You know what I mean?
None with 2 kids with the same woman that they're still married to.
5, 6 kids with 5. But, it's not, I mean, you know, for our world, if we would be golf players and you make $1 million a tournament, you bring everybody on the road. Or like Federer, you know, I read his latest book, The Master or whatever. He brought a private jet, and he had 2 twins, and he brought nannies and teachers and private houses. I mean,
Who did you just say?
Roger Federer.
Oh, I thought you said Federer. I'm like,
No, Federer.
He's won a few tournaments.
If he's got it, man, he needs to get banned from events more often if he's having that kind of success.
Well, he just went on Facebook earlier today sporting 2 new Rolexes that he's just got, so he's doing okay, I think. Yeah.
Oh man.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
So, all right. I want to ask a couple of like lightning questions. You know, just quick questions that
Mental questions. You wanted to talk mental. You said.
Well, do you want to do that first?
Whatever you want.
Let's do the mental side of this because okay, so obviously, like, let's put this disclaimer out there. I'm nowhere close to the player that you have ever been, but as my pool career slows down, I find that the hardest part that I deal with is the mental side of things, and it's not the mental side of things of like being ready for an event. It's maintaining the readiness throughout the event, whether you're down 5-0, up 5-0, or just you get down with a really intense hill match, and you go sit at the bar and have a water or a soda or something like that, and you're just kind of coming down from it, and all of a sudden you get called to the next table, and you got to go up and down and up and down, and when you're playing a lot, that stuff's pretty easy to do, right? It's just ingrained into your competitive abilities, but when you're not playing a lot and you pick up your cues once a month or once every other month or whatever it is, to be able to get into that mode, stay in that mode, and more importantly, come down from it and get back up into it without really catching without really losing anything. That's really hard to do. I've really struggled with that. I would say it sounds a little bit like that's kind of where you're at, where you're playing these world quality events, and then you're going and having a holiday with the wife and kids, and then 3 days later you're home, and then you're back at your next event playing for your career. I guess just talk a little bit about that, and then maybe you can transition that into the actual course that you've created to help players with stuff like this.
Cool. Yeah, I think if you're competing, right, and you're trying to stretch yourself. So I mean, there's nothing wrong with playing for fun and having a drink and your league nights and all that stuff. That's fine. That's fun. Keep that up. But if you're trying to push the envelope, if you're trying to get better, that means you got to step out of your comfort zone, right? And if you're going to do that, by definition, you're going to feel uncomfortable a lot of times. And that's when you're really starting to learn things about yourself, and you have to search for answers, and you need help. I mean, it took me 30 years to build a whole package from Hard Knocks and reading books and talking to people and working on myself and one-on-one sessions and sports psychologists, a therapist, I wanted to work on myself. Like, why is this thing blocking me? And why am I struggling with this? And what's going on with that? And finding answers, you know what I mean? And then you put that to work. So to answer 2 questions for myself, I know if I want to get competitively tough to compete in the arena with the best, I got to go out there and compete with good players. It's not going to help me to just be out here by myself. I can run 150 balls, no problem, because there's no heat. I'm all by myself, just chilling out, practicing. But then if you go, let's say, into a pool room and there's 10 pros sitting around your table because you're playing 500 a set against another pro, that's a different kind of heat. Or if you're stepping into a big arena playing center court in front of the lights, the only thing you can do is go out there and do it. you know, and you got to do it often, and you got to do it frequently. So a much overlooked thing is, I'm going to do a video about this one day, YouTube video, is building these streaks of events. It's very hard to get used to pressure if you're doing one event, 3 weeks later, one event, 2 weeks later, one event. It's better to do like a block, like 3-4 events, boom, 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 boom. And then once you hit that second, third, fourth event, it's like your living room, because you're doing it and doing it. Your stress, your nervous system gets used to it, etc. That's one part of it. Now, what do you do when you're actually in the event? Then it comes down to what's in the mental courses. One part's match preparation. Like, what do you need for your personality to get ready for your match? A lot of people don't even know what they need. They don't even know what the hell their ready looks like. They chit chat with everybody where actually they need like 5 minutes by themselves outside, just getting cleared out, and then go back in and hammer it. Other people need that time to chit chat. They need that nervous energy out, right? Like Rodney used to do, and Earl. Raj. They needed to talk to a lot of people and get it out. And that's what worked for them. I'm not like that. I need quiet me time before a match. Earpods in. I got to build my focus up and up and up. So that's one part of it. And then part two is your mental foundation during the event, like away from the matches, when you're home, meditating, visualizing, perhaps creating mental space, whatever works for you. You need to be able to focus. If you're always cluttered up and you're not even able to focus, or if you're sleeping 5 hours a night and you get no energy, well, good luck the next day having a good practice session or a match. There's no way. You know what I mean? These mental foundation things like insight, knowledge, and then during the match, it can be
what the heck?
The rest, you have to pay for the rest of it.
So yes. So that's your free sample. Your free sample is done.
The rest of it you have to pay for.
Well, that's fun. I'm assuming, I don't know, maybe I bet his laptop died.
Well, you could stick up his. If you want to know more, while we're trying to get Niels back, if you want to know more about what Niels is talking about, you can go to the Terminator College. Just type in Terminator College; it'll all pop up. Niels is this expansive course. He'll do 30 minutes with you, face to face, over Skype or WhatsApp or whatever. He'll talk to you, find out exactly what you need. He was talking about it there. Find out what you need yourself, know yourself a little bit. He'll figure that out for you. And you can go through the whole course. And the course is basically valid for as long as you want it to be valid for. You keep returning to it to pick up tips. And he's put a lot of hard work into that. And I've only heard good things from the people who have gone into it. So it's worth taking a look. Go to the Terminator College and have a look at it.
Yeah, I put it into the comments. So if you want to see it, I know we brought him on to actually, I think right after he finished this up, we brought him onto the podcast to chat it out. And so we do have a podcast there too, if you want to know a little bit more about the specifics of it. There he is.
Oh, he's back.
Are we back?
I think.
Testing.
Yeah, we got you. I can't see you because Nate's
we
put
can
up
hear
this.
You if you can hear us.
Testing.
Can you hear us?
Test. Yeah, I can hear you guys. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you. We just couldn't see you because Nate
Good to
put
go.
up this massive big Terminator College banner over
I
your
lost,
face.
I lost connection a little bit. I had some struggles here. I apologize. So where was I? Mental match play. That's all about handling tilt, expectations, frustration, anger, all this stuff like insight, talking to yourself, breathing exercises. That's really powerful. And then after the match, where a lot of people struggle is they're really hard on themselves and they go into a slump, right? This didn't go well. Should have done this. I suck, blah, blah. And I have a whole schedule of feedback loop that you can go through. It can take you maybe 5 minutes, 10 minutes to keep you positively charged for the next event. Like, what went well? What needs work? What are you going to do to fix it? Instead of this, I suck, I should have done that. I'm not playing well, blah, 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 blah. And then there's a book list, quick learn guides, and then you get 30 minutes of Skype with me. That's all in the big course. So that was really cool to make. That's standing there. Over 2,500 people have joined the college. So that's really cool. So yeah, that's really cool. So
that's insane. 2,500.
Yeah. Oh man, come on now.
No, you're good. It's Nate that's frozen.
Oh, it's Nate. I said, oh man, not again.
I'm frozen.
I'm getting nervous. Yeah.
Am I frozen?
No, you're good now.
You just
okay.
Yeah. You put Niels on tilt.
Yeah. Back to the breathing.
Yeah, right. And I will on Facebook. I will pin the link to TerminatorCollege.com. It's just Terminator-college.com. So if you want to check that out, that's where you can get that for. Yeah, I guess. Is there anything else you want to discuss with that? I mean, there's how much content is on there? Like, if you were to go through all of the content, how long do you think it would take you to just go through everything?
A couple of hours. It's 33 videos. I mean, it depends on you if you want to order some books, not mine, but like really top books. And then you get the 30 minutes, so everybody runs into situations where they think, oh man, this is just what I'm struggling with. And then we can dive in a little deeper. I can maybe recommend some other books or some other tips for you personally. That's really cool. I've met a lot of nice, really wonderful people in chats, and you open that screen on Skype or whatever. You've never met this person, but you're on the same path. Like I feel what they feel, and you're not that much different because you all share the same nerves and pressure and passion and all that stuff. So it's really cool to be able to help people from all different ages, and it's cool. Right now, I'm doing 30% discount because of the Hall of Fame. So just go to the college and then checkout page. It's Fame30 in big letters. You get 30% off. So,
and this is just to be clear. This is for all levels of players. It doesn't matter what kind of level you're at. It will work for everybody. Yeah,
doesn't matter. Yeah, exactly.
And Fred Dinsmore says it works. Perfect.
Wow, he needs.
Well, there you go. Fred, I know Fred. He's got some mental issues, so if he says it works for him, then it must be pretty powerful stuff.
We're all working on. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
I got one more question. Now that you're 46 years old and you've built up all this massive amount of information that you have through your years of experience and doing all your mental stuff and everything. So let's say you had the opportunity of the 46-year-old Niels Feijen going back to talk to the 22-year-old Niels Feijen. What you get 5 minutes with him. What are you going to, what's the kind of things you're going to be saying to him?
I would say one thing, and that is play one pocket. Because I went to the States and I never properly got introduced to the full power of one pocket. When I was 20, man, it was so boring. It was just tapping balls. And then now, like 10 years ago, you got this DVD from Scott Frost, like Power One Pocket, man. It's like, dude, if I would have seen this when I was 20, I would have been hooked. And it would have given me so much tactical game when I was younger. We were figuring out everything by ourselves in that generation. The break, kicking. We were, now it's all on YouTube. We were trying to figure it out with Alex Lely and Nick and me and Rico. And how would we do this? How should we do that? And the drill for this. And, these guys, they knock off 10 years of their learning curve, these youngsters, just because it's all online. So I would definitely say work on your tactical side ASAP, because I was just a run out addict. I just wanted to run out and run racks. That's why one on the spot with a normal rack is still my favorite, because that's where I ran 15 racks in a row. And straight pool, you just get the run out. But yeah, I think besides that, my work ethics and all that stuff was really high already then. So I would just say, just keep hammering, just do the same thing, and then eventually the life lessons will will follow. But for pool, the tactical side ASAP, especially for the youngsters. Yeah,
I can't believe you said one pocket. I've just got this vision now of Molina Mike dancing around his living room. Neil said one pocket.
our one pocket. Yeah.
Right.
All right, Niels, you ready for a couple rapid questions?
Let's do it.
All right. What was your most accomplished win? Everything taken into consideration.
2014 world title.
All right. You never win a single event the rest of your career, but you can trade that for a U.S. Open title. Which do you take?
No.
Do you take it?
No way. You mean everything I've won now, put that away and get
No. From here going forward. So you will not win another event for the rest of your career, but you'll win this year's U.S. Open.
Do it. Yep. Happy man. Yeah.
You win? Yeah. I like that. I like that.
Yeah.
Okay. Remove the U.S. Open.
I would take the same, by the way.
That's funny, Jim. Okay. So if you could win what are three more events that you want to win by the end of your career? Obviously, the U.S. Open being one of them.
Three. I mean, U.S. Open, I would say one. I mean, if I would like to win another European straight pool just for personal reasons, just because I just have something with that event. Really, I started to make my goal to try and win 10. I got 7. I got close last year.
27 wins in that isn't enough.
No. I mean, it's not a massive goal, but just for personal pride. Because last year I ran 4 times 100 in that event. I had 300s in a row, and I just felt I was the best 14-1 player in that room, and I wanted to win. You know what I mean? That's how you have to feel as a pro. Otherwise, you cannot beat these guys. So that's just personal. I would just, I think another, these are massive goals. Another world title. I really had a strong desire this winter to win that world title, because it came like right after the Christmas period, right? A little break, couple of weeks off. And I would just felt it. I wanted to put everything into winning that thing. We had Dutch championships, then straight to Taiwan, the boot camp, and then straight to the world title. I put every effort into it to get a good result. I really wanted to win. I did as good as I could. I played good preparation. So that would be, of course, a massive win. So I hope that answers it.
Yeah, perfect. Who was your favorite person to play against in your entire career? Like who is it you saw on the bracket, you get to play them and you just got excited for it? Maybe because you had a good record against them, maybe just because you like competing against that one person. But who, looking back at your career, who is the one person that you enjoyed playing?
One guy?
Or a few.
Yeah, there's multiple reasons. There was Efren, because he was he was the greatest, the elite of the elite in my 20s. I saw him do just stuff just unbelievable. But we've all heard those stories. So he was the inspiration, and then get to play him was just, the focus was just boom. And I always, for some reason, I always played good against Archer. I just had matches with him where I just played like unbelievable. And I have really good respect for Johnny. I think he's a really nice and really cool champion. Also in the Mosconi, I've always had nice chats with him. So I enjoyed playing him. We had really cool battles. Also Hill at the US Opens. And there's other guys, but that's personal reasons. That's more rivalry stuff. And
seems like a perfect platform for it. Let's hear it.
Respect for the other guys.
Is there anybody on the other side of it? Is there anybody that you didn't like playing against for any sort of reasons?
Yeah, I think to be honest, I never liked to play the guys that manipulated the rack. I had no problem with a little bit of pattern racking. You could talk about that and get it out of the way, but to cheat on the rack and really leave gaps, and I just felt
it's so nice to hear a professional actually call it cheating.
Well, I mean, for me,
and I completely agree, it is cheating.
I'm a biker, right?
Want to call it cheating.
But Jim, I ride my bike. The Tour de France is going, right? I followed cycling for years, and for me, it's doping. Yeah. It's mechanical doping, EPO doping, all together in one thing. I think there's, and I'm going to say this out loud, and I'm not ashamed. I think there's people that won U.S. Opens by doping, and I'm going to say that I don't care. And I mean, there's a couple of guys, there's a handful of guys that have manipulated that. And if you're in the pro field and you're not doing the same thing, you have zero chance. Like at events like Derby back then, US Opens, it's like them getting 4 to 5 racks on the wire. Yeah. By opening up those gaps behind the back balls where the corner ball just keeps flying in and flying in. You just get no chance. If you're not doing the same thing, eventually they're gonna catch you and you're gonna lose. So I've had huge discussions about the rack also in the Accustat arena, and to be frank, people just didn't understand it. They had no clue what was going on. They thought, oh, why are you whining about the rack? Don't you understand? If I don't do this, I have zero chance. This guy has to close these balls. If we're playing like, even with the normal rack, they're doing stuff and opening up that back ball or pushing out the wing ball. It's doping. It's pure doping, in my opinion. And I think they should have been barred, or at least be disqualified out of the room, and barred for a year, come back next year. That's why I was so glad that they finally started implementing neutral rackers at these events. They started at was it still the US Open back then? I think it was Fleming's tournament. I think it was still Barry Berman's then. They started with neutral rackers. I was a big vote for that, and that really helped to clean up that side of the sport, because it was just a joke. I get angry about it, you can tell, but it was like, if you're a young pro and you go join that tour, and at first you're going to get hammered and you don't know what's going on, and then you see, okay, I see what they're doing now. Do I want to do this, or do I want to work at the supermarket? Basically, that's the decision, right? That you love the game. That's the same in cycling. These kids were 20 years old. What are you going to do? Take the injection or go back home?
Well, that was a lot of people's. You guys don't like baseball that much in Europe, but I mean, that was the big argument during the steroid era of baseball, when people are hitting 50, 60, 70 home runs a year. It's like, well, I know that I have to take steroids because I know the pitcher that's going to be throwing this ball at me is taking them. And do I really want to give them, that extra, little 10%, 20% on top of them? Yeah. It's so how. Well, I mean, we won't ask you for actual names, but how many during this era that you're talking about? How many of the players, how many of your contemporaries do you think were doing this, manipulating the racks in this way?
Good question. I know for sure 5 guys, but it might have been a lot more. I don't know. I mean, like I said, pattern racking. You can have a big discussion, then it's out of the way. Then you just rack them like you do now, and 2 is random or whatever. But to like start tilting the rack and lowering the rack and opening up balls, I mean, then you're really coming into a gray, dark area, I think. And unfortunately, there was guys at certain events. It was just standard, and I think only the majority of the pros knew what was really going on. The fans didn't even know. So it was, unless I'm wrong, unless I'm naive. Now you probably know best.
Well, I find this very interesting, and I want to kind of dig deeper at this without really saying names or anything. You said at least 5 players. You don't know exactly how many. When do you think it started? Like when do you remember this, looking at the rack and watching people do these things and be like, what is going on here to the point where you actually looked into it and found out what was happening?
Wow. Early teens. How do you say that? Early teens.
Yeah.
13, 14. Maybe no. It's got to be earlier than that, right? But that's the naive part where you didn't really know what was going on.
You didn't
Well,
notice that, yeah.
10, 8, 9, 10, 12. For sure, I really started seeing things at 13, 14. And then it became kind of classic at the Derby, where you just started seeing things that weren't really possible, like breaking from the box and the corner balls flying in 300 miles an hour straight on, stuff like that. That doesn't happen 3 times in a row. That's impossible. Stuff like that. I don't want to make a big discussion out of it, but that's just what I saw. And
no, but for me, I think we've probably gone deep enough on it. But for me, it's just refreshing to hear a top pro actually refer to it as cheating, whereas it seems to have universally it's called rack manipulation rather than just plainly cheating, which is what it actually is.
And the reason why I wanted to go as deep into that as I did is because I think
we're here
one
to
of the
talk about the Hall of Fame.
Well, I'm bringing it back to that, right? Because one of the players that's on the Hall of Fame, and we talked about this, Mike Pinozzo and Molina Mike. One of the reasons I won't allow Corey Deuel won't get my vote was because I think a lot of the stuff that he did with the soft break and the kind of manipulating of, especially the eight ball breaks, where he used to, I told the story of when he was at the Carom Room in Beloit at the Spring Classic. He was banking the wing ball off of an 8-ball rack, making that ball, and then 3 balls would leave the rack, but he would make a ball, so it's not an illegal break. And then he would just basically dink and dunk an entire rack, and his 8-ball racks would take 15 to 20 minutes per piece because he's playing safety breaks every single time. And I don't know the exact start to this, but I've heard stories from players that said basically the rack manipulation was kind of started by Corey Deuel off of that soft break and the kind of things that went into that before. And I look at it as being cheating too. I mean, I look at absolutely if you're fingering the balls and you're trying to get gaps in certain spots, you're trying to basically you're basically trying to take the break out of it. You're saying you're no longer playing a break, you're playing a shot. And your shot is by hitting the rack at this speed on this line, and it's going to make this ball here. The break should not be a shot. It should be a break. It should be a random explosion of balls that you think you can try to control, but you don't always know, right?
Well, I think
that were happening with these racks.
Just to interrupt you, Nate, I think, first of all, I don't want to name names. That's for people to decide for themselves.
I will.
I just have,
I will.
I just have an opinion about the rack. But in the end of the day, it was up to the organizers to stop it by putting in neutral rackers. And when that happened, that solved the problem right away. Now, having said that, I think there is a skill into reading the rack. There's a big skill in reading rack. That's really knowledge. If you can look at a rack and you can see certain things and without manipulating, you can see that ball's going there. That's a skill. That's knowledge. So I think not being allowed to look at the rack, I think that could go a step too far. That's another discussion. I think that's a skill, but manipulating the rack, in my opinion, goes too far.
Yeah, I got no problem with people checking the rack if they want to decide which side to break from. If they think one side's got a better advantage than the other,
but it's got to be 10 seconds. It's got to be 10 seconds or less, though.
Yes, it can't take too long.
Yeah. But then I think the neutral racker is absolutely necessary for the future of pool. And unfortunately, one of the byproducts of that is I believe I remember a match that you had at the World Pool Masters this year. If I'm not mistaken, I think it was Hill Niels, and you smashed the rack, and about 6 balls got outside of the. There's like basically you smashed the rack and almost nothing opened up. And I believe that was Hill. The match that you lost at the Masters. Do you remember what I'm talking about?
We're getting a little lost here, but the thing was there's always this discussion, right? Like, okay, you got to break them firm. All right, what is firm? What is firm? It's because there was great lady players that joined the Matchroom events the previous years on TV. they broke as hard as they could. And then that was a kind of a medium speed. The men player copied that break, and he gets a warning on TV. You have to break him harder. So what is that? That's it doesn't work. So that's why they implemented the 3-point rule. Now, that obviously doesn't work that well for TV. People get confused. He made 2 balls on a break, but the other player's playing. Okay, tough action. But what is firm? We go to the break now. I think the break as we have it now is the best thing ever for 9-ball. It's great.
I agree.
If balls are coming into the kitchen, and I felt Carl Boyce said this really great on TV at commentary. You can see when a player's putting his elbow in, and he's making an effort to hit these balls. You can tell, right? If he's doing this, is not an impactful break. If you see a guy accelerating, he's putting in speed. So I got a warning in my first match. You're soft breaking. I said, how can I be soft breaking? It's a cut break, and you're not going to see this big break that you guys maybe want to see on TV. That's not the break that's working with 9 on the spot in a break box. So we had an open discussion after the match, after the Joshua match, and we did some testing on TV. I said, to sum it up, if you hit the rack too thin, you're not going to get a lot of action. So you could have hit it with a good speed, but you hit him too thin, so you're losing impact. Or if you see all these balls going to the side rail, that means the rack wasn't really frozen. So that means you could also hit him pretty good, but now everything implodes to the side rail. So I got a warning at both instances, and I went after in the timeout. I said, I'm not hitting these balls soft. I'm hitting them as like I'm always doing. So I get a warning. I had to make some adjustments. It worked out. And then against Kachi, I got another warning during the match. I had to change something. And on Hill, I had to do something different. Otherwise, I would lose the rack on Hill. So I broke. I took a chance. It didn't work out, and I lost the match. But, I think still this break that Matchroom is doing is the best break with the template for Pro Pool. I think it's the best thing that I've seen in the last 10 years for sure. But it just needs a little fine tuning. That's all.
Sure. Okay, Jim, you have anything else? Darren Appleton, stop soft breaking.
He said, "Well, he's on. I can't see who's online. I got no clue."
No, Darren's in. He says you need to stop soft breaking, pal. He's getting old now. He doesn't have that power anymore, Dan. You know how that feels.
Yeah. Peter Braun asked a good Bosnia story, Niels.
Good what?
A Bosnia story. You got a good Bosnia story? Peter Braun asked it.
No, I don't. That's beautiful country. Bosnia, a beautiful country, tough history. So it's you have to go see for yourself. But a lot of nice, friendly, passionate people. Yeah, really. I'm happy to go back to that tournament. It's like really good passion. So
one more thing. Mosconi Cup this year. You in? You're going to get in this team?
My goal is to win a major. So the initial goal is not to get in the Mosconi Cup because I'm not playing enough events. But if I win that major, I'm going to be right up there again. So that's the way. If I'm going to get in, that's the way I'm going to get in. Not by racking up a lot of points. I have to make.
It's going to have to be one big bang.
I got to make a big move. Correct. Yeah.
All right. Well, maybe it's going to be in full in a couple of weeks.
Yeah, let's see.
Unfortunately, Kachi's not going to be. Looks like one of the front runners for that final.
What happened? I saw a picture. What happened? Because I'm not on Facebook.
He got a car accident.
He was racing, and he flipped his car, had a massive car accident, and he smashed up his entire arm. Tendons were all torn, broken, tendons torn. You could see he had the cast on and you could see his fingertips were all black. So there's obviously a lot of damage under there.
Oh man! Oh wow!
So he's kind of, I think he's finished for the year. I think probably.
Yeah.
So this is Niels's. Oh, that sounds horrible. But wait a minute, that puts me one more.
No. No.
No, it's,
Okay.
By all accounts, he was very lucky to walk out of it, kind of thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. The message that I saw from him was, I'm pretty messed up, but could have been a hell of a lot worse. So, yeah, you know what he's like with these cars and stuff like that. It wouldn't have been 30 miles an hour that he was going, kind of thing. It would have, yeah.
I didn't know he was racing. Wow. All right, guys, I'm gonna go back and put the youngest.
Niels, awesome to talk to you. Took a little bit longer than expected, but listen, thank you very much. Delighted for you. Can't wait to see you in Fulda. It's your round. And then get practicing, man.
Yep.
You got it,
and
man.
congratulations.
Luck,
congratulations again.
All right, cheers.